Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Wonder of Anime podcast. I'm your host, Lisa. I am a multimedia anime content creator, and my work spans across my blog, my YouTube channel, and of course, this podcast. I am so happy this week because I have a returning guest. But the last time he was on the podcast, he's part of a duo. Don't worry, he's still part of the duo. But for the podcast, I said, no, you guys are not coming on together. I need 2 episodes out of you. So I split them up today. But I am joined by the awesome, the amazing Polow, also known as PolowBornFly. He is a gamer. Listen, I got you. He is a gamer, a former photographer, which I did not know this, and he's now a Twitch streamer, and he's one half of the anime podcast, one of the best anime podcasts, if I say so myself, Mic Check Waifu Waifu. So welcome to the show, Polow. I'm so happy that you're here.
I appreciate you for having me on. It's great to be here.
After I've been harassing you for weeks, like, you need to come on the podcast.
I couldn't wait, honestly. And before we get into anything, I do want to say that, like, you always give your flowers on the show to other people. And I want to be one of the ones to tell you that this show is absolutely incredible. Like, the moment you announced it, I saw the idea, and just knowing who you are as a host, I'm like, she will be absolutely incredible for this. We don't step out often as Mic Check Waifu Waifu, but when we do, we got to make sure it's the Wonder of Anime or whatever Lisa got going on that needs to talk, or whoever, because we want to support whatever you got going on, because it's incredible, an incredible job that you do.
Oh my God,
I appreciate
thanks.
that.
I appreciate it so much because, I mean, we've been in the same space for a couple years, so it's always genuine between us, and I love it. Thank you for giving my flowers. I'll take them. But like I said, I immediately, when I thought of this concept, because I reached out to you guys even before, like, I had the first episode recorded or anything. Like, I think I reached out like 2 months ago, like, just so you know, be aware, I'm going to reach out to you again. And I thought of you guys because I love the way that you talk about anime. We talked about this before. Your format with the show is just a very different podcast, and you also have like a Facebook community and your Patreons and stuff. And what Mic Check Waifu Waifu does is really a labor of love for anime. It's people who genuinely watch anime. They're not watching anime for, you know, whatever's popping, whatever's hot. Like, yes, you guys talk about seasonal stuff, but you talk about slice of life and things that people may not be watching. I love how you guys always do like a sleeper of the season. So immediately when I thought of this concept and talking to people about anime that they love, I thought about you guys because you guys love anime.
Absolutely.
And you are also in the similar vein of people who love anime, where we get like a little obsessive and we know like way too much than the regular person. So I was like, this is the perfect combination sometimes. Yes. So before we get into the anime that you're going to be talking about today, I did want to get a little bit about you specifically. Sure. We'll start off with Mic Check Waifu Waifu because that's how I was introduced to you. If you could tell us a little bit about the podcast and what you guys are doing on there.
Yeah, we started the podcast in June of 2019. So we've been going for a very long time.
5 years this year.
Yeah, so 5 years on the scene, and what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring attention to shows that don't quite get the attention, because conversations have always, like you said earlier, Goku versus whoever, or One Piece and Naruto. Wow, we absolutely love those shows and know they deserve and have their place in the world of anime. We wanted to open up the horizons of anime conversation. So we started it then. I had a different host in mind, funny enough, a guy who I consider a good friend of mine, who I even told him to his face, so like I do all the time, he just liked consistency. So I reached out to Tell, being a close friend of mine since the 7th grade. We've been like brothers ever since. Decided that we talked about anime in the 7th grade, so why not just talk about it now? And it was around the time Demon Slayer first launched. So that was, I think it was episode 10 of Demon Slayer. We decided, like, we got to talk about this and we got to record it, because I know his takes on anime is different than mine, and I know mine is different than his. And sometimes we kind of bounce off of each other really well. And the chemistry was there from moment one, and we've been rocking ever since. And every Tuesday it's consistent. We missed about a total of like 5 shows in the span of that 5 years. So that's what we're here to do. Just bring conversations, good conversations.
when he says consistency, like, he's not lying. Like, I ain't gonna put their business out there, but I do follow their personal accounts because I do think we're friends. They got life. They be lifing. Like, this ain't people you normally associate with having an anime podcast. Like, these people have a life. So the fact that everything that they do in their life work full time, and they're as consistent as they are, consistent with the quality. And something that I also want to make note too is you mentioned talking about anime that not a lot of people talk about. And it's not to say that people can't talk about popular or trending anime, but it says a lot that you still have episodes that, like, whether an anime is popping or not, you're going to have an episode, because it's not about, a lot of people just talk about hot and popping anime so that they're trending, so that they're with the trends. And you guys are like, nah, we just talk about this anime from 10 years ago that I think Tell watched on 2x speed. And we're gonna see what happens. So I love that. And I think, and friend of the show, Rob from Dad Needs to Talk, he's another one. And it's so funny because I don't listen to every episode you guys do because I don't watch a lot. Yeah. And I also, like, I follow I'm in the Facebook group, I follow the conversations and stuff, and I always see, my favorite thing is whenever you guys, like, put the show and you, like, oh, here's a show, whatever, here are the links, it'd be a whole conversation. And it's like the way that people talk back to you. I love that you've built that community where Rob is like, at this point you said this, and that I thought that too.
He's such a great guy to have that conversation with too. Like, he's phenomenal.
And the thing is, like, he's not the only one, and I feel like that speaks volumes to me, because a lot of people, not everybody interacts with media the way a content creator does. Well, they'll respond and they'll, like, answer the questions that the hosts have asked. But the fact that, like, people are wanting to join in on the conversation and respond, like, very few do that. So the fact that you have consistent people every single episode, like, responding, like, that just speaks to how welcoming your show is and how good it is that people are like, hold on now, I don't agree with this. Tell at 52 seconds you said. Like, I've seen sometimes people put the time, like, damn, like,
accurate, very accurate. So the thing about Mic Check is what me and Tell kind of, like, build it on is we never really build it on, like, trying to get as many followers on Twitter as we possibly can, or to get as many high listener numbers as possible. We said we're just going to naturally let it grow as naturally as possible, which we've done. And every time I say this, I'm so thankful for everybody that listens, because we don't do much of any like promotions or stepping out anywhere or going to other shows to promote ourselves. Like, that's not what we're about. And the fact that so many people still listen and so many people still partake in the conversation means the absolute world to us. So that's what we wanted to build, like, that place where people could talk about more than just those typical versus conversations, And
even I like, I'm not saying that you have to judge people by, like, their audience and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
But I do think sometimes it is reflective of the show itself, because, like I said, I'm in the Facebook group, and I've been in anime Facebook groups before, and I usually end up leaving them because, like, the memes are just, like, inappropriate or just like weird. And I can say, like, I don't post anything in there, but I always find a meme in there, and it's just the quality of people listening just match you and Tell, because it's just like such a great community. People are posting conversations, people are posting memes that are, like, cool and fun.
Right.
So I love that. And of course, like I said, I've been a fan for a long time. And you won't promo, but I will, because I'm like, retweet.
No,
you don't got to worry.
I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate that.
I gotcha. And I feel like I really want listeners to go back to listen to the first episode we did, because I think about it every time, where I was like, I thought, I didn't know that you guys just used this avatar, and I was like, when I learned that it was two guys, I was like, I thought it was a girl. I didn't learn on the podcast, but it was before I invited them on, where I was like, oh, this is just an avatar they use. This is not.
that's and we talk about that to this day. That's a highlight of our career. Like, when we got Lisa, it's a thing that we were two girls. It's just phenomenal.
Because I was like, I'm always, and I think I said this too, and I'll say this for Eddie, because I've had a lot of new listeners with this new format. I'm somebody where I don't listen to a lot of anime podcasts because I'm never watching what people are watching. But I will support, especially I see consistent people, I see quality people, I see what you interact. So immediately I'm supporting everything that you guys do, because I was like, man, like they always putting stuff on this girl, always putting stuff on, like conversations, look cute, whatever. And then I was like, let me look at a video, and I was like, oh, this is not. I was like, this is not a girl.
It's hilarious. We still get DMs to this day about how you ladies doing. We love to have you on our shows. It never fails.
Not how you ladies doing.
Yeah, all you gotta do is listen. All you gotta do is watch any one of our shows, and that's what then maybe we'll consider joining your shows. But if we're not.
That's crazy that people sliding in the DM, and you manage the DMs, so that's hilarious.
Yep, it's so often that they think that we're two girls, or they think that we just talk about waifus, which is entirely not the case as well. And that's fine. It's just we love alliteration. So Mic Check 1212, Mic Check Waifu Waifu sounded cool, so that's why we did that.
It is very cute. I like that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So before we I did also, because aside from Mic Check Waifu Waifu, you also stream, and you've been streaming, I feel like for like 2 years now.
Oh yeah, way longer.
Well, way longer. I've been checking. You post the link, but that too, you don't be posting the links.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Post the links, Polow. Yeah. But because I'm the type of person, if I see, I may not be watching, but you're gonna have a viewer. I'm there. I'm gonna put it in another tab to support you. But you've been streaming. How's that going? Tell us, what are you streaming? Are you playing certain type of games? Anything? What's that like?
So, quickly, video games have been my passion just as much as anime for probably as long as I lived. So, I mean, since like NES with Zelda, my mom has Zelda, and I just continue to play that. So games has always been my thing. The thing is, I started streaming in 2015, but I've always been somewhat inconsistent with it because of just different moments in my life. Like, there's so many times in my life where I came about this close, a pinches away from being partnered with Twitch. But because of the consistency I lack when it comes to streaming, because of life events, it doesn't happen. So I always tell myself I'm on again, off again, full-time Twitch streamer. So, but I mean, it's literally what I do. And luckily I fostered a community in MMOs that I play. Like, mostly MMOs is my specialty, which is massively multiplayer online games for those that might not know. But like stuff like Black Desert Online or Final Fantasy 14 or even older stuff like Star Wars, The Old Republic, MMOs is what I stream typically.
It's funny you say consistently inconsistent, because I feel like streaming is one of those things like you have to be all on in, and I get it. I respect the people that do, but it's very hard when you are like, it's not like it's your hobby, you're doing it for fun, because it's like you got other priorities that take place.
Exactly. And when I started streaming Black Desert Online or BDO specifically, that game became what I was known for. And if I was to stream anything else, the community wouldn't show up as often for that. So if I'm not playing Black Desert Online at the moment, I wouldn't stream, because if that's the case, it wouldn't be anybody there. And I'm not saying that I'm doing it for the people or per se, but I just know how it works. Like, I've been a part of the internet forever, so I just kind of like, whenever I want to stream something, I throw it up there, and if it goes, it goes. If not, not. Luckily, I've just been blessed with a Twitch community that still supports me to this day, where I'm able to live off of it basically. So between that and the podcast, I'm truly blessed. I don't have to do anything else but that. And I'm trying to get better on it. I'm trying to get better.
Well, obviously it's working. So, yeah. And I will say too, the community point of it is like, I always tell people it's a little bit different with streaming, because I know Twitch and like YouTube and stuff, like there's certain algorithms that go into streaming, which is why they want you to stream consistently. But in terms of like, the community aspect of it, when you are that person, like the people I took a whole year and a half off, and I was like, well, I'm gonna come back, and people were like, we're here. We're waiting, girl. We're ready. And it's like people will wait for you, because they're not like gonna forget about you. A lot of people are not gonna unfollow you, especially if you're someone who's like consistent or what you do is good. Because if you have that quality, and I feel like too, people tune in every day or every week or every 2 weeks, but they know when you're making content just to be consistent versus content that you want to make, and that's quality. Exactly. Like, you're like, let me just stream this thing, and you're not even talking and engaging with people. They're like, all right, I'm not be here.
which is the easiest thing that I think a lot of newer Twitch streamers miss is that it doesn't. Even if there's 0 people in there, just talk. You know, just do whatever you can to entertain them, make them laugh, make them want to say something, and then they'll come eventually.
I have dabbled into streaming, but like just on my YouTube channel because I find that it helps my YouTube grow.
Yeah,
but
your recaps are awesome, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love those.
But I can't. My whole life is just very scheduled to be consistent. So I was trying to I'll do it like every week and stuff, but it just wasn't it was very hard because something always happened.
Yeah.
Something always happened. And then I was doing talking streams, and then one day because I love gaming, I'm a huge gamer. I was like, let me game and stream. Let me tell you, that's not for everybody. I could not talk and game at the same time. I had to stop. I was like, I'm so sorry. Because I didn't realize, I always play by myself and I don't play online games. So I didn't realize how focused I am. And then I'm trying to tell a story and then I can't do what I'm trying to do in the game. And then I'm so sorry, guys. We was going to play this game. We had to stop. I never tried again. Someone's like, you should try. No. I will not do that ever. I'm like, streamers, don't be fooled. It's a lot harder than you think that it is.
And sometimes it can be mentally taxing. I did it at a point where, and I guess we'll get into that a little bit later, but I did it at a point where I was trying to become better at socializing because I have terrible social anxiety when it comes to just speaking in public or just talking to people, which may not seem like it now, obviously, but I had trouble with it. So I'm like, you know what? Let me try this streaming thing in 2015 where it just turned to Twitch and I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. And it ended up being something that helped me out quite a bit in my life mentally for sure.
I can see that because also we're mad cool. So I was like, it was so that weird, but yeah, having dabbled in it, not even me and my 2 viewers, I was like, this is so hard. And what you said about even if no one is there, that for me is the hardest part because I'm like, I don't I had to pretend that I'm talking to somebody, or I would put the stream on my phone just turned away with the volume down, so I'm I could just pretend I'm talking to somebody because that part is hard too. So what do you say?
I spent hours just talking to myself in empty chats until one day somebody came in with a 200 viewer host, and then I'm just going. And because I spent that time talking to myself and making up nonsense, it just kind of flowed in naturally, and people were asking questions, and it started to just flow from there.
See, I have a lot of streamer friends. Take notes, guys, because this be the hardest part. I'm not gonna be. I think I'm gonna stick to my monthly recap streams.
Those are dope, though.
Thank you, and I know you guys also. I wanted to mention this too, have started doing streams as well, which are always late, which I get it because of life, but I'm like, damn it, I want to support, but I'm asleep.
I know, yeah. I figured, and the same thing with Tell, he says the only time he can record is when his kids are asleep. So 10 o'clock is the time that is best for him, unfortunately, which is where most of the world is asleep. So it's it's tough, but they still come out and support for that too. It's awesome.
No, I've been people be waiting. People waiting.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to, before we get all the good fun stuff, we could talk about anything forever. Yeah, but I did want to get into why I have you here. Because you today are in the expert seat. I am naming you the expert of the anime that we're going to be talking about. And that anime, I'm already getting choked up. Yeah. So we're going to talk about, I don't think I feel like this episode is for the millennial listeners and watchers. We're talking about Clannad. I agree. And before I have you introduce the show, I'll give everybody my history with Clannad. I had watched it in college, I think my freshman year. I went to college in 2011, and I was late to Clannad because I think it came out before then, and I had always seen people talking about it on Tumblr, and I was like, I'm gonna watch this. And then it ruined me. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Yep. And then I watched season 2 and I didn't finish it because it messed me up. I was like, I hate this. And then I've never watched it again. And I don't think I could ever watch it again, but You cannot like bring up Clannad around a millennial without them getting misty eyed. And I remember when that show ruined my life. So I was actually very surprised when you picked this. This would not, and then I know you have like, you're very like out there with like your anime that you watch. Like you're not limited to genres or demographics. But when I tell you Clannad just hasn't been front of mind for me forever, I would have never imagined you to say Clannad. I would imagine no one saying Clannad. So I was like, hell yes that you picked this, not obscure, but kind of obscure anime. So I want to know, for the people who don't know, what is Clannad?
Okay. I want to start by saying that before people get on my girl, is you can say it both ways, but Clannad.
Oh, wow. This is like the third time somebody has to tell me.
No, it's okay.
I don't pronounce nothing right.
I hear it both ways all the time, and I am the exact same way. So when it comes to names, I will struggle with that, just for future reference, everybody else. But so Clannad is actually it's a video game first and foremost. It started off as a visual novel that came out in 2004. Yeah, so it's a visual novel from a creator named June. Sorry, I got my notes over here. If you don't mind.
Yes, get the notes. I love it.
He named June Maeda. He's the creator of actually Air, Canon, Little Busters, Angel Beats, Charlotte, Summer Pockets, and The Day I Became God. So he's the creator of these. All those shows I mentioned are visual novels first. So he started these visual novels, and then it was adapted into an anime 4 years later in 2008 or 7, roughly.
Wow, that you know. Looking at it with that lens makes so much sense.
What's crazy, Lisa, is the visual novel it doesn't even have the detail that the show has. The show came and took that visual novel and turned it into something even more than what the visual novel was. The visual novel was just as great. I've played it, I think it was 4 years ago when I played it, because I heard it was a visual novel after. I'm like, I'm a gamer, so I gotta try it out. And it's mostly just a dating sim with just different girls that you go around and date. And there is a true ending where you end up with the main protagonist girl, Nagisa. And it's neat and it's cool, but it does not have the same effect that the show actually does. So I think that the fact that it was developed by the guy Jun Maeda, who co-founded the Studio Key. And Studio Key, like I said, done a bunch of visual novels, and they started with adult visual novels first. So very interesting story behind him and his creations.
That is wild to me, because I didn't know that. But like, now that I haven't played visual novels, but like I have shout out to Blurdy Otome. She plays visual novels on Twitch and stuff, and she, like, I'm familiar now with it, but that makes sense then with like in Clannad, like the different girls and stuff. So I did not know. That was mind blowing. So what is Clannad? Clannad. Now I'm not Clannad something. What is this anime about?
Okay, so it's about Tomoya, who's a bitter third-year high school student because of his mother passing recently, and that causes his father to develop a gambling and alcohol habit. And because of that, he distanced himself from his father and become a delinquent because of obviously family reasons, until he gets to this new school where he transfers to and meets a girl named Nagisa, who is doing her third year term in high school because unfortunately she is ripe with illness throughout the show. Unfortunately, and she's been repeating and kind of like starting a new school year alone with none of her friends and trying to navigate that life. But it's mostly about Tomoya and the way he, I guess you could say, adjusts to a life where meeting a girl completely flips his world upside down. From a depressed guy who don't care about the world or him even being in it, to finding somebody who he can find common ground with and change his world that he's in right now, basically, essentially.
I have not watched it since that first watching, so it's like unlocking the memories for me.
Yep.
Because I was like, I forgot that she was sick, and in that he was not on the good path.
And the thing about Clannad is that it also has like it's a lot of supernatural stuff that you don't really know until you watch it. And what I like about Clannad the most is the fact that it has, and this I'm gonna go into that a little bit more, but it has the beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. And that's all I'm really saying to that. It's going to be hard to talk about this show because I really would love for you to try to give it a chance again. It may hit you even harder this time now that you're a mother, but give it another chance because I do think it's worth it. And I can go into the reasons why. But it's one of the greatest shows ever. But I do know why people have some gripes with it, obviously.
We'll get into the couple questions because I did love that first season. Like I was like, this is so
very
beautiful.
Sweet. Yeah.
It was amazing. So as you mentioned, it's one of your favorites. When did you get introduced to it? Like, how did you land upon this anime?
All right, the year doesn't really matter, but it's between 2011 and 2000, maybe 14. Unfortunately, I was I guess I could talk about it now because it's been so long, but I was going through a lawsuit with T-Mobile because I was wrongfully terminated due to a race thing. And it wasn't necessarily T-Mobile, the company. Let me make sure I clarify that because I have to clarify that every time I talk about this. It wasn't necessarily T-Mobile, the company. It was the third-party authorized dealer that they were associated with. So I was fired. I was home a lot. And from there, I was watching just a bunch of anime just to keep my mind off of it because it sent me into a depression that is unbelievable because that job I had, I mean, I was a store manager of a T-Mobile store. Tel was my assistant manager. I hired all of my staff. The store was successful. It was phenomenal. I ended up spending 2 weeks training the guy to end up replacing me. And that's when, yeah, exactly. So that's when it sent me down a dark, very, very dark path. So I was scrolling through the site that shall not be named. I guess it could be named now because it's debunked, but Kiss Anime. And I was just scrolling through sites and I was rewatching Dragon Ball Z. I was watching Naruto. I was watching everything that I just loved to just make me feel better. Just meathead stuff that I just absolutely love because prior to who I am now, the only thing I watched was fight. If they wasn't throwing hands, I wasn't about it. Like it was that's all I was about. So I was scrolling through Kiss Anime and I was looking for those hot symbols that used to be on on things that were like popular. So I was scrolling through and I saw Clannad because I was just going in ABC order. It was at the top of the list and it had very hot next to it. Like, what's this? I clicked it and turned it on and I started watching it. And the very first episode was this drab, dreary, depressing color filter on it. I'm like, what is this? I start watching it and the story goes on. And I'm 3 episodes deep. Next thing you know, I'm 12 episodes deep. Next thing you know, I'm finished with the first season. And I'm like mind blown because for the first time ever in my entire life, I cried watching something. Even in the first season, I shed like real tears. And mind you, I was always the guy who held everything in, who kept to himself about everything, who just wanted to see fights, who just was about nothing else but that. And when I watched that series and it literally sent me down the path of crying full of tears, and it got even worse in Clannad After Story, that it completely changed who I am now. Like I don't like shonen. What is that? Like I'm all about slice of life now ever since that. But watching that first season, it really did something to me mentally where it brought me out of a very dark place, even though it being dark itself. But when I went to After Story, it then made me, it encouraged me basically to just try my best to do more and to be more. And I can go into that a little bit later too, but it was just the right time in my life for me to see something like that. You know what I'm saying? For my whole perspective to change, because it was all about violence at first. It was all about taking my mind off the reality when it comes to life with just fists. And I saw that show and I'm like, wow, this is a whole nother world that I never even thought of experiencing before. Like if it wasn't throwing hands, I wasn't watching it. And that completely changed that for me. So that's the time I picked it up. Never looked back ever since. And every time I sell it to everybody I meet.
It's something that you said, and I feel like it's the theme of this show with the episodes that I've had that have come out and that haven't come out yet. there is something about the timing when you watch something. And I really believe that shows, not even just anime, shows, books, music, really finds you and speaks to you when you're ready to receive that message.
Absolutely.
And it's like this story, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that story. It's just a testament to the fact that it's like you had to be down and out in order for you to give this a chance and to then have it transform your life. And I say that all the time. And I think for me, I am, as I'm doing the show and people keep talking about like their anime and the when they found it, I think it's like, I wish people would stop forcing themselves onto watching things that are popular just because they're popular, because it may not be the time for them to watch it and they're missing the point. It's going over their head and then they're going online and talking all this crap. And it's like, it's just not your time. And you don't, and it may never be your time. And I felt that way like with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like I watched it at a time where I was like in this abusive job, and it was just like the themes that spoke to me, and it was like really like they had nothing to do with their job, but it was just like, so it spoke to me because it was the time in my life to receive the messages that the show is put out there. And I love that your story is a testament to that. So you watch it, you know, you're down and out, this changes your life. Did you automatically then, will you like, this is one of my favorites, or did it take some time for you to be like, this has moved up to the favorite category?
Well, first, it put things into perspective, right? I started thinking about what would be my favorite if it wasn't this. And the first thing I thought about was Naruto. And I'm like, well, because again, when that came out a long time ago, it was like, this is awesome. Just seeing these kids fight when they're down and out. But then I'm like, but I wasn't emotionally attached to anybody. I didn't care as much as I do about these characters I spent 40 plus episodes with. And for me to know that this is what anime can be, that's when I'm like, okay, this is the show. Like, this is my all-time favorite show because of knowing that. And to be fair, technically it's not my number one because of objectively speaking, but it is number one in my heart because of the fact that, like I said, it brings something that I've never seen before at that time that it released. And that's just emotions that I never felt before watching anything, like not just anime, but watching TV, music video, whatever. I just never felt it. And again, somebody who was very hard on this, like very hard when it came to like expressing themselves and never did it, it brought it out of me. And I'm like, this is what anime can be, then I'm gonna dive deeper into that. And ever since then I've spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours watching this slice of life and sad romance stuff.
It's so good. It is really good for the soul. Like it truly is. Like, there's some stories like slice of life that you check anime list, probably got like a 2.0 rating, and I'm like, This changed my life.
Same.
So when you think about the story itself, and what is something, you know, like this is old. Obviously, this was a visual novel before this. Old relatively, like, you know, like it's not something that came out 2 years ago. It's at this point, if it came out in 2000. Like 7, then yeah, that's like 50 something years ago. Don't ask me to do math right now, but more than 10. So since it came out so long ago, and it's still something that people are discovering, and even if it's not part of the conversation, you can mention it around a certain demographic and they know what you're talking about and can talk about the impact that it had on them. What do you think it is about the story or the show that makes it timeless in that way?
Just that, and when I saw that question, I'm like, what a fantastic question. Because what it is it sets rules in a supernatural way from moment one, but it doesn't I guess you could say it doesn't hold those, like, it doesn't have the rules be what the show is essentially. Like, I love when shows have rules and they follow them to a T. But in this particular case, it was mostly about the subplots that then led to a bigger underarching story. And those subplots were some of the saddest subplots ever that ended in happiness almost every single time. And that's the theme throughout the show. It's about family, love, and happiness. And as generic as that sounds, it is done in such a way that is thematically perfect. It's truly one of, like, I think it's the method in which the storytelling is being told is what makes it so prominent today, because there's no other stories being told like this as consistent as this is. Again, from the episode 1 being the end of the show to the end of the show being episode 1 it just blows my mind. It's like almost Steins Gate-ish. If you ever seen Steins Gate, it's special.
I haven't, but I understand the reference because I kind of know what that show is about. But thinking about it, because like I said, I watched this so long ago that I don't remember everything. I do remember crying almost every episode because, I mean, I also cry all the time. So that's not like special feat in itself. But it is something that, like, and something that you said that's like the everyday, like, fit life and family love and things like that. And I love that this show particularly is like hones in on that, because I do think that is the love that we have and that we surround ourselves with. And like that is part of your everyday life. And that is something that is special. And I think, you know, a lot of the times stories are always like this grand star-crossed lovers, all the odds against them. And sometimes it doesn't have to be all that, because in real life, like, it's not always all that. Like, you're not going to be fall in love with the king's son and you're like a homeless person. Like, it's not always going to be that. And I think that's also, again, in general with slice of life too, it's like, that's why those stories hit, because they are a slice of life, literally the slice of regular life that almost all of us can relate to, if not exactly. The themes are things that we can relate to.
It's so well told too. It's just the pacing is great.
I'm trying to remember my memories, because I've only remembered certain parts, but it's a lot. It is a lot, and it also is because of what you said, like the end being that first episode. You're also putting together pieces, and there's certain things that you're trying to see, like, okay, what is the relevance of this?
Yes.
And you're piecing that too. So you're kind of doing work as you're watching the show.
Yes.
And that is also, and that's why I said the fact that you said that it's a visual novel, that it's based on a visual novel, that part to me now I feel like makes more sense, where it's like you're putting these kind of pieces together, because that is something that's like happens in a game where you don't have all the information and you're playing the game trying to put it together, basically.
Yeah, like for example, it's something called the illusionary world that is a part of Clannad, and the illusionary world has a little girl in it and a robot. And you have no idea who they are or what they're doing or what they're talking about, but every episode they mention that, from episode 1 to episode 46 or whatever it is. They have probably the most important piece of the show that you're like, what? The entire time you're watching it, what is this? What? Why? And then it starts to slowly fall into place, the domino after domino effect, and it really don't fall into place until like episode 21 in season 2.
That's probably why I remember that, but you're like, that's the missing piece you need to like the show.
Exactly, and it's special. It's truly a special way of storytelling that, again, I'd never seen before watching that. Like, I'm like, what is? This is anime? Like, this is what anime could be?
You're like, there's more to life.
Yeah, Goku. Exactly. It blew my mind. It literally blew my mind.
You're someone who has watched Clannad a bunch of times, Clannad. You put other people on. You're obviously a content creator online as well who consumes like anime content. So, you know, you're familiar with the conversation surrounding this show. What is something that you think people get wrong about the show that, you know, you being the expert in my eyes, that isn't, you know, like you're like, this is totally wrong. Like, this isn't what this is.
Yeah, that is all tragedy.
That's me. I'm the person who said it's all tragedy.
Yeah, everybody says it's all tragedy. Everybody hates me after they watch it, but
not hates you.
I am known for being the guy that breaks people's hearts, because it does do that. It does do that, but there is more to it. And if you can get to that more, I promise you won't regret it, to whoever watches it. That's what it is. It's just that it's all tragedy, that who would want to watch something that's only about depression? And it's not the case. That's the biggest misconception for sure.
I think, and I'm going to put a spoiler warning here, because before we get to the next part, because I do think this is, and see that, and I think that for me was why I dropped it when I did, because season 1, like if you're looking at it separate seasons, I saw season 1 and it ends on like this really good high note. Oh, yeah. Yes, they're together. you know, they gonna do this family. She pregnant. They got married. Amazing. And then you start season 2. There's a time skip. He ain't around. The baby being raised by her parents. She passed away. He's been so depressed. He can't even raise this baby.
Yep.
So when I had watched it, I was like, you know, when you binge anime, like, you just one episode to the next. There's no time between to process stuff.
No time to grieve.
So I'm so happy. And then you see his character growth through season 1. Like you said, you know, he's this lost child, all this trauma in his life. Him and Nagisa, like, happy together. Yes. And then this time skip, and she died. And the part that hurt me was, like, that he was so sad that he couldn't really raise the daughter. Yes. I think it's a daughter. And the parent, I was like, laptop shut. It was nice knowing you. It was so
stricken with grief. Yep.
It was so painful, and I just felt like you didn't come this far to just come this far. Like,
yeah,
I would have thought that you would have pulled it together to be full custody of raising your child.
Yeah, and it takes something to get him to do that. Like it takes one thing in particular that gets him to change, and it's seeing her in the sadness that he brought to the child that he loved. He loved her, but every time he saw her, he saw Nagisa, and seeing Nagisa just brought him so much grief and pain because, and I think it was at the end of season 1, and my memory is a little fuzzy on it too, but it was either at the end of season 1 or the beginning of season 2 where when she was giving birth, it was a complication and she passed away, and he literally had a mental breakdown, an anxiety attack that was depicted extremely well because it's something I've also suffered from before, and from that, not saying that it's warranted, right? Like, it's never okay to abandon your child, but I completely understand because he knows that even though they lost their child, Nagisa's parents, that they're going to do a hell of a job of raising Ushio, which is the child's name, and it'll be better with them than with him, was his essential thinking with that. And I get it. Again, I don't condone it, obviously, but I understand his method because if he spends his time with her just giving off the vibes of depression and grief and sadness, what is that going to do to Ushio? It's not going to make her grow up happy or so he's just avoiding what he dealt with his father by letting Nagisa's parents raise her. And again, it's not an excuse, but it's kind of justified.
It just was so painful. I could not. Yeah. I didn't want to see that, and
nobody does.
It's just I was like I felt so betrayed. Like and I really,
beaten, right?
Yeah, like I'm like, cause and the thing is too, like we know like she has health issues and stuff, and it like you feel like you're coming on the other side, like you're coming on the other side where she finally gets this happiness and he gets this happiness, and. Because I think season 1 ends, like, you find out that they're, like, pregnant and stuff. And it's like, yay, we got married, we're having a family. And then season 2 starts with, like, that she passed away and stuff. And I said, no, not today. And you know, I've rewatched stuff that I watched when I was younger. But, man, like, even now, it makes me so sad. And I don't know if I can feel that sadness again. But if it's going to be worth it, I can try.
I can guarantee you it will be worth it.
I just have to push through. Okay?
Yes. If you could push through, and I tell this to everybody, if you could push through that beginning of season 2, you can make it through the show, and you will be happy that you did. Because the message that it sends is so powerful. It's extremely powerful. It is. I will almost consider it as a message that probably saved my life too, because it's that strong. It's really, really good.
It's just, I will. I don't know when, but I will try again.
You're a busy lady.
So, I mean, I do make myself suffer on purpose. But if you skip the spoilers, welcome back. I'll put a time step with the specific spoilers. Some people don't care about spoilers, which is fine. So with people who love, they love Clannad. Clannad. No, I'm never gonna say
You
it
got it
again.
right the first time. You got it right.
I just can't. I'm thinking too much. People who love it, fans of the show. What is an unpopular opinion that you have that other fans? I was gonna say fans. Like, that's not how you put the name together, words together. That other fans wouldn't agree with you on.
Probably, and I learned this when I forced my brother Tell to watch it. Is that I always say that
You said that with no hesitation. I forced him.
Of course. I'm like, you got to, because he wasn't about slice of life before that, but I digress. I told him, I'm like, the beginning of it is slow, because I always felt like when I remember watching it, it was a lot slower than I thought. After rewatching it, I still believe that, because I've seen so much more slice of life that is paced a little bit faster when it comes to it, but it's 24 episodes, so
yeah,
I feel like it's slow, but most people tell me I'm wrong and I'm crazy, including Crystal. Shout out to Crystal. She tells me I'm wrong, but I do think it's a lot slower at the beginning, and I always tell people just expect it to be slow, and they always tell me I'm wrong when they watch it, so that's probably the biggest thing.
I can't remember, so I don't know, but I'll take your word on it if people come back to you with complaints.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like it is a slower slice of life than I'm used to, probably.
And I think is what you said about it being 24 episodes and then it also being a second season, because a lot of slice of life is 12 episodes.
Yep.
And it's very rare, like at least to my knowledge, that it is longer than that. So that
24
explains
from both too.
Yeah, and that's a lot of episodes for a slice of life, unless it's like based on some like long ever going manga or something. But
exactly,
I definitely I used to not really watch anime that were 24 episodes because I also felt like it was slow, and I love a 12, like get me in, get me out, break my heart, rip me up, tore me to pieces. Yep. I messed up the lyrics, something there, but coming to put a bow on this altogether, and I feel like you kind of touched up on this, but you know, you've mentioned that you really think the show's message has saved your life. It's really changed you personally. You've put other people onto this. I'm sure it's changed their life as well. When you step out of that and you think about Clannad's legacy in the anime world, in our culture, what do you think that legacy is that makes it so it's still such an impactful story today? So
this question, again, when I saw this question in the document, I'm like, she's just so good at this. But this is something that I got from a video that I watched about 8 years ago about Clannad. So this isn't my words exactly.
You was in there. You watching videos about it?
100%.
This is a fan right here.
I was deep. I'm still deep. This is an excerpt from this video that I watched about 8 years ago that I think still resonates to me to this day. But it goes like this. So forgive me if I'm reading a little off because there's a glare on my monitor. But Clannad is ultimately a story about life. Pain is just as much a part of it as the happiness. Tragedy always comes around the corner. Always comes around the corner. Never something you can prepare for. Tomoya, which is the main character, internal struggle, asks us, what's the purpose of living if it means the suffering? And the ending gives us that answer. That it's the suffering that makes us stronger. Never regret what got you to this point, made you who you are. All that tragedy will never outweigh the happiness, and it's always worth it. And that message in that video, every time I read it, I get choked up because it touches me in the way that in my darkest time where I was contemplating very dark thoughts, I think about what somebody like Tomoya went through. It can't be worse than that. Nothing in my life is as bad as what that man went through. And even though it's a fictional story, it's not real. It affected me that much to where it's like, if he can make it through that, and I know I don't have orbs of light or wishes and stuff that happens in that show that's like, definitely not real. There is always going to be tragedy in life, and that's just a part of what life is. No matter what it is, tragedy is going to happen. But will that tragedy outweigh what the happiness is in your life? No, it never will. No matter how bad that tragedy is, guess what? You're still here. You can still move forward. You can still get past it, no matter what. So I just think Clannad being a story about life is the legacy that it leads, and that is the most important message in the entire show. Because, again, all tragedy will never outweigh the happiness. It's always worth it. is the strongest message I got from not only that video, but from the show in its entirety and sticking through it.
That's such a beautiful message. I'm a very emotional person, so I also feel things very deeply. And just a part of it being, it's a story about pain. And I think it's a quote from a John Green book that's like, the thing about pain is like it demands to be felt. Yep. And I think like even if it's sad, even if it's tragic, like you have to feel those things. Yep. And it's like it serves as like a barometer then for when you are in the good moments, how good those moments feel, because they feel good in comparison to how bad like the past has felt before. Yep. And it's just like I said, it was so, and that was a completely different part of my life back then when I gave up on the show. But and I think this is a testament to the genre too, where it's like, even if you personally are not going through the pain that those characters are feeling, it's like a fictional situation, it still touches something in you, because we all go through pain, and it's all 100%. Very like, it's different. No people's, even if it's the same situation, no people's pain is the same. But what you said is like, you have to keep going, and it's hard, and it's not something that's easy, but you just literally one step at a time, put your one foot in front of the other, and you go. And sometimes you don't even know how you're moving forward. Yeah. Sometimes you just are, I was reading a story, and they were like, somebody was like, oh, like, it's good to see that you've made it past it. And they're like, honestly, like, I blocked most of that out. Like I just, I didn't confront it. I just ran from it. And they were like, but you're still moving in a direction. Like, even if you weren't facing it, like, you still made the decision to move, where others may have gotten stuck in that. So I love this. This is such a great note to end this conversation. And I thank you for bringing the show, because I'm telling you, I was not thinking about it. And I was not thinking about it in this life, but I have a series in my life, it's XXXholic by Clamp, that was like that for me. That was like really pulled me out of a depression that I was in, and the life lessons. I think you should watch that show. It's actually on Crunchyroll now since they merged.
I'll add it to my any list right now.
Thank you again for bringing this to our attention. This was such an amazing conversation, and I love you tackled so many things that I just feel like when people are like, open your mind, open your genre, open your Annie list, and check something different. This is why, because you don't even know. Like, I gave a sports anime a chance that you wouldn't even think, and that's Run with the Wind. That anime also changed my life. Like, that altered my brain chemistry. Yeah. And it is like, I wouldn't know. Me? A sports anime? Who would have thought?
You want to know something funny? It's side tangent, so forgive me, but
we love side tangents.
Dad Needs to Talk told us, he messaged us like you mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show, how he just always kind of communicates. He messaged me and said that you guys should take a look at some older shows that you didn't give a chance to, because we were talking about last episode how I'm not really a big guy on shoujo, because I just don't feel like it's for me, so I never really gave it a real chance until this season of anime. And it's this anime right now called Seventh Time Loop, that is a shoujo and Signs of Affection that everybody's talking about. It, I'm sure you saw, but Seventh Time Loop completely opened my eyes to this genre of shoujo that I've never even thought to step into. So now I'm like, exactly. So now I'm like in this world of shoujo where I'm like, this is Seventh Time Loop is one of the best shows it can make my top 10. It's that good. It's like just having the openness to try something new, I think is the moral of this episode, if you would allow me.
Have you seen Fruits Basket?
Yes, of course.
Okay. See, that's a shoujo.
Yeah. So that was the first one I've ever watched. And then I watched the 2019 version, which was even better than the classic. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
I haven't finished the 2019 version only because I have read the manga 3 million freaking times. So it's very like, sometimes when something, and this is why I don't read the manga before I watch the anime, because if it's too present of mind, like I'm like, I could just read it faster. But I love that. I love that testament. I think that's a great way to end it, because it really is. And again, it's so funny because I had Key on with Pinky Sensei.
Oh, yeah,
we talked about Fire Source. Thank you. But it was so funny because so many people afterwards were like, Oh my God. I didn't really realize that there wasn't as much fan service as I thought there was. And
it's not.
I'm like, it was like, but that agenda, I was like, the agenda's agending. And it's like, that's what it is. It's like sometimes hearing people that you like or people that you don't know, but like hearing them talk about something so passionately, it's like, if I did that for you, because I'm telling you, I was like, Clannad, that made me sad. I'll never watch that again. And now I'm like, did I watch the same show? I need a two.
Please try. Everybody that's listening to this now, at least try. I know it's gonna be hard, but just try.
Well, I will send them your way, and they'll be like, "I hate you. This hurt my heart."
Exactly.
So, with that being said, and we are wrapping up, where can people find you? Let us know. What do you have anything particularly that we should be looking forward to? Give it all to us.
Yeah. I'm at PolowBornFly on all social media. That's POLOW, by the way. And it's just every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. CT. We drop a new episode of Mic Check Waifu Waifu, the anime podcast that talk about seasonal anime and other unusual anime conversations that you probably wouldn't hear on other podcasts. So that's it. That's nothing too special.
No, that's not just it. Get with the stream.
Twitch.tv/PolowBornFly as well as where you can find me. I would appreciate it if you toss a follow.
Yes. As you literally, I don't promote myself enough. Promote yourself. No, but seriously, I will have links to everything in the description of this episode. As always, thank you guys so much for listening. Hopefully shedding some tears. I'm telling you, most of my listeners are in our age range, so I know they know Clannad, and I know they're gonna have some things to say, so I'm excited for the conversation. But thank you guys. If you're listening on an app, be sure to leave a review, a rating. We love those. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace out.
Peace.